Hello, this is Math 0028, Section 1.4 U-Try Problems. So let's get started. It says use the equation 7x minus 5y equals 12 to do these two problems below. So on A we want to solve for y. So in other words we want to get y all by itself. So let me get my pen. Okay, so we're going to write out the equation 7x minus 5y equals 12. And we want to get the y by itself. So the first thing you need to do is get negative 5y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides. Now, 7x's are gone. We have negative 5y equals, and you can write this either way. 12 minus 7x, you can't subtract those because they're not like terms. So you could write 12 minus 7x. I'm actually going to write negative 7x plus 12. And the reason that I'm going to do that is later on when we get into graphing in chapter 4, you want to have the x term first. So it's just kind of a good thing to get used to. Alright, so now is the y by itself? No. There's a negative 5 there. So it's multiplication, so I have to divide to get rid of negative 5, okay? And here's where we're going to keep it easy, okay? So we always operate on the KISS system. Keep it simple, stupid. And that's me, not y'all, okay? So I have to divide this whole side over here by negative 5. So on the left, the 5's cancel, the negative 5's cancel, and we have y equals negative 7x plus 12 all over negative 5. And that craziness, that's your answer. Now, in this section, how do you even know when you're done? Because you don't get just a plain old normal number. The way you know is if the variable they have asked you to solve for, if it's all by itself, you're good to go. Okay? So let's look at B. Now they want us to take the same equation, but this time we're going to solve for x. So we're going to first of all get the 7x by itself. So I'm going to add, I want to get rid of that 5y. So I'm going to add 5y. Okay? So 7x comes down, and I'm going to keep in the same pattern of putting the variable term first. So that would be 5y plus 12. Now, the x is not by itself because there's a 7 there, so I'm going to divide by 7 and put the whole other side all over 7. The 7's cancel, so I get x equals 5y plus 12 all over 7. Alright, let's look at C. It says solve for the indicated variables. For letter C here, we want to solve E equals IR for R. So in other words, we want to get the R all by itself. So look at the same, look for your variable for R. What's on the same side with the R is the I. Since that's what there, we want to get rid of the I. So since that's multiplication, we're going to have to use division. So I'm going to divide by I, because that'll cancel out and give me R. And if I divide by I over here, I have to also divide by I on the left. Those I's look horrible, sorry. Okay, so I have E over I equals, and the I's cancel, and I just have R. So it was just a one-step problem. You just had to divide. All right? Now look at letter D. Here we need to solve for C. P equals R minus C. So first we're going to get that C by itself, the negative C. So I need to get rid of the R. So I'm going to subtract it from both sides of the equal sign. So subtract R. So what I have is P minus R. That just comes down. The R's are gone on the other side, and it equals negative C. Now, we're not done yet because it said solve for C, not negative C. So you have to get rid of that negative sign in front of the C. Remember the coefficient there is a 1. So I'm going to divide by negative 1 on both sides, okay? And the negative 1's cancel, and I get C, which is what I want. And you have P minus R all over negative 1. Now, normally you just leave it as a plain old fraction, no big deal. But since the term on the bottom is just a 1, they may want you to simplify the side a little bit more, this left side. Because basically what you have is you have these two terms on top divided by negative 1. So you have P divided by negative 1 would be negative P. And negative r divided by negative 1, a negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive r. So they may want the answer like that. Okay, or you could also write it as r minus p. So when you're doing the homework for this section, it could be the first one, the second one, or the third that they're looking for. So just make sure they're all the same thing, but the second and third ones are simplified a little bit nicer. That's all. Okay, so you just need to see what they want in WebAssign. All right, E, we're going to solve this formula V equals 1/3 AH for H. We want to get the H by itself. So first thing we need to do is get rid of that fraction, okay? Since the denominator is 3, that's the only denominator, that's our common denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3 over 1. And so that starts with the V over 1, okay? And then on the other side, 3 over 1 times 1/3 AH. Now, one thing, and I haven't mentioned it yet, is you have to be very careful in this section. It is very case sensitive. In other words, if this is a capital V, you better type in a capital V. Notice that the letter A is in uppercase, capital A, lowercase h. You have to type it in that way or it's wrong, okay? So on the left side, we get 3V. And over here, the 3's are going to cancel each other out, and we just get AH. Ah! So now we're trying to get the H by itself, so I have to get rid of the A. So since that's multiplication, I'm going to divide by A on both sides because that's what I'm trying to get rid of. The A's cancel, and I have H equals 3V all over A. And you know you're done because the H is all by itself. All right, on we go. So here on letter F, excuse me, we have P equals R minus C all over N, and we want to solve for R. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of that fraction. So you need to look and see that the common denominator there is just going to be N. Okay, so I'm going to put N over 1 times P over 1 on the left, and then equals N over 1 times R minus C over N. All right, so on the left I have NP, and on the right the N's cancel each other out, and we're just left with R minus C. Now, halfway through you can't even remember what you're solving for. So remember, we're looking for R to get R all by itself, which means I need to get rid of negative C. So to do that, I'm going to add C to both sides. Okay? So on the left, I have NP plus C, that just comes down just beside each other, equals R, and the C's are gone. Now, is the R by itself? Yes. So you're done. All right, let's look at G. This is actually the formula for converting your temperatures between Celsius and Fahrenheit. Not that that matters, but there you go, a little trivia for today. Okay, so we want to get F by itself. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of that stupid fraction, right? Okay, so the denominator is 9, so that's going to be our common denominator. If that's the only denominator, that's definitely your common denominator. So I'm going to multiply the left side, 9 over 1, times C over 1. And this is like the last section when we had a whole term there. We only put the common denominator one time. 9 over 1 times 5/9 F minus 32. I apologize for the phone. Sorry, I can't control that. If you can hear the phone. And of course, nobody else in my family is going to get off their butt and answer it. Sorry about that. Okay, so on the left side, we're going to have 9C equals, now on the right hand side, the 9's are going to cancel. Okay, so, and cancel the 9's. Okay, so now you've got 1 times 5 is 5 times F minus, minus 32. So hopefully you heard all that. So 9C equals, the 9's cancel here, and you get 5 times F minus 32. Okay, so now bring down 9C, and we're going to have to distribute the 5. Okay, so we have 5F, and 5 times negative 32 is negative 160. Okay? And now, remember, oh my gosh, am I doing the wrong thing? No, I'm not. Okay, I was freaking out for a second. What the heck are we solving for? For F. I was going to solve for C in just a sec, and that would have messed it all up. So glad I caught myself. Okay, so to get the F by itself, the first thing we need to get rid of is the negative 160. So I'm going to add 160. See, that's why you should never let your phone ring while you're trying to do a video. It messes you up completely. All right, so you have 9C plus 160 equals 5F, because the 160s are gone. Now, to get the F by itself, we need to divide by 5. So I divide by 5, and I'm going to put this whole term over here by 5. Okay? So the 5's cancel, and we have F equals 9C plus 160 all over 5. And that's it. Now, actually I say that's it. You could also split this up into two separate fractions. Like you could write 9 over 5C, which is what 9, that first term, 9C over 5, plus, and then if you divide 160 by 5, it gives you 32. So that's another way that you could write that answer. So I'm not really sure which one WebAssign wants, but they're both good answers there. Okay? And that is it for, what was this, 1.4's U-Tries. Right? Yeah.